you'll see America's favorite sport on WHBQ television.
Talking Memphis Wrestling with Randy Hill and special guests.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? Hello again. We're here live from the headquarters of Talking Memphis Wrestling, a.k.a. the House of Hells, a.k.a. Jonesboro, Arkansas, where my story began. Hey, this is maybe a first because for the last, I guess, 6 or 7 years, we are here every Tuesday night for Talking Memphis Wrestling. Tonight and for next week as well, we are going to do the shows on Wednesday because there was a big premiere last night. For those of you that watch Dark Side of the Ring on Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and TNA Wrestling, would love to hear your comments about that. And certainly in this show tonight on Talking Memphis Wrestling, a special Wednesday version of this show, a very special Wednesday version of this show, we will deep dive and talk about what I think is the best Dark Side of the Ring I've ever seen, even though to me, it was not a dark side. It is a personable, honest look at a great wrestler, a great human being in Jeff Jarrett. We all have had flaws. Some of us still do. Jeff Jarrett came through all the problems, losing certainly his first wife, Jill, too young, too early. Then he got TNA Wrestling. He founded that, and that was taken away from him. Remarried, great family, a blended family that is absolutely fantastic. His life is just great, fantastic, and I couldn't be prouder of the fact that one of my closest people in the wrestling business, somebody that I've gone up and down the road with many times, just to see him doing great and seeing that show last night, that I was for sure very proud of. I want to say hello to Frank Seaton. He's in the house. And Calvin, I think this is a question. He says, every Wednesday, Randy Hills. No, we will be on Wednesday next week. This show has changed tonight because I wanted to watch Dark Side of the Ring last night. Then I wanted to review it tonight. Do the same thing with part 3 of the Jeff Jarrett show, the Jeff Jarrett Dark Side of the Ring. Then we'll be on here next Wednesday as well. After that, we'll go back to Tuesday night. Man, Frank Seaton, did you watch that Dark Side of the Ring? Richard Hood, my friend, was wondering if you watched the show last night. Hello to you as well. And James Davis, where did you send those pictures? I get hundreds of messages a day. Did you send it in Messenger? Did you send it in my email? How did you send them? And certainly, to tell you the truth, if you send them by mail, I haven't checked my mail in maybe 4 or 5 days. So if you send them by mail, I could still get them for sure. But thank you very much, James. And remind me, James, where you're living. This is called a stretching opening, because First of all, I'm producing and hosting, and Michael St. John not able to make it today. Not able to be on this show today as he has work issues. Pat Trammell is in a conference call, and it may be 7:30 before he can join the show. And certainly, Dr. Robinson will be with us tonight. Dr. William Rusty Robinson will be on the show tonight. All people I know that have watched that show, Dark Side of the Ring. Frank said he did watch the show last night. Yes. As a matter of fact, what I thought was interesting, and I watched the post show My World with Jeff Jarrett podcast last night, and he said something that I did not know. So everybody knows Jeff's close partner, close friend, passed away, Owen Hart. Several years later, a few years later, his wife Jill passed away, and I believe that day was May the 23rd, and that was a sad situation. And Frank says he noticed a lot of the wrestlers interviewed teared up. It was a very good show, very, very good show. I thought it was interesting that the always tough, always strong, never break up, especially on air. Scott Steiner, who was close to Jill Jarrett, I just thought his thing brought tear to my eyes. And I'll be honest, as James says he sent it on Facebook. I'm assuming Facebook Messenger, and I'll go ahead and look at that and see. Again, I get so many messages for sure. What else is going on? I said hello to Richard Hood, Calvin Lindsay Jr. My friend is in Mississippi, and man, certainly it's good to have everybody watching this show tonight. Again, we're waiting for Pat Trammell. We're waiting for Dr. William Robinson, and as this show's going to be about Double J Jeff Jarrett, and excited about that for sure. And want to put a picture up there. This is young Jeff Jarrett, Double J, right there before he came Double J, and certainly starting in about 86 when his wrestling career started, and still relevant today as he is a part of the team of AEW Wrestling, and certainly on that he's on that roster as well. It was just absolutely a fantastic dark side of the ring that I was just thrilled to death, happy, tickled pink, any adjective that you can describe about how good that show was last night. Now, Paul Neighbors says it's storming here in Hendersonville. It stormed here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, where my story began about 2 hours ago, but it's all cleared up now. And Frank has a comment. He said he saw Michael St. John on Facebook today interviewing Lou Albano and Jimmy Snuka that were having matches in a casino. I didn't what year that was, and I would say, well, I don't know. And Michael is not going to be here. I was going to say maybe the late 90s. I am not sure about that. And Michael has talked about that to me as well. My buddy, my brother from another mother. He is in the house tonight. He didn't have a chance to see Dark Side of the Ring last night. Randy West, I want to say hello to you as you say hello to everybody else. And I will repeat myself. We're going to review Dark Side of the Ring. Now, Randy knows TV lingo. He knows what a stretch is, and what a stretch is for you people that with TV experience. Maybe you don't know. It's common sense what a stretch is. I am stretching. Adam Dunn, not here at all. Third week in a row. Pat Trammell will be late about 30 minutes. Also, Dr. Rusty Robinson will be our guest here. He'll be there about 10 or uh, 15 minutes long. Paul Neighbors says, love the show last night. So Jeff said things that needed to be said. Certainly, I encourage everybody to do this. YouTube, and if you haven't, wait till after this show is over. Don't leave me, people. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Because this will be a good show. And once I get help in here, we'll talk in depth about the dark side of the ring. You can go YouTube Dark Side of the Ring on Jeff Jarrett and TNA Wrestling. It's a must see. Also, if you go to the Jeff Jarrett podcast, My World, they did a live watch or after the show, and he and Karen and Conrad did a great show last night, a couple of hours long. They went even more in depth, and I thought it was fantastic. I watched two more things, and I encourage everybody to check it out. MMA broadcaster and reporter Ariel Hawani had Jeff Jarrett on his podcast. You can find that as well. And it was absolutely fantastic. And Talk is Jericho with Chris Jericho. He had Jeff on and the producer of Dark Side of the Ring. And certainly that was fantastic. James is saying, I remember his first match when Dundee and Buddy Landale, ganged up on him as a referee, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I may, uh, at this point, have to fast forward to get to this thing, but let's go back to, I believe it was April or maybe late March of 1986. This is USWA Wrestling. Here's Jeff Jarrett's debut, his intro in wrestling on Talking Memphis Wrestling. Here we go.
Big men they are. Oh, Johnson thrown over the top rope. Hey, come on.
Adele, it's just attacking the referee.
That'll cost you. Jeff Jarrett refereeing this match, and Landell just slammed him. There goes Jameson out of the ring. Here comes Jerry Jarrett just stand in, and he nailed Dundee.
Welcoming Dr. William Russell Robinson into the show, and as I was stretching, Jeff Jarrett's debut. Do you remember this angle, Doc?
And Dundee slams him.
I've seen this many times. You know, Jeff, he looked so young in that. I guess he was like 18 or so.
Some of the story was so good in common, and I don't remember his 19. This is the eye. Look at it. 18-year-old Jeff Jarrett, Lance Russell was involved, trying to help. Certainly get Jeff out there, and now here comes Dundee. Jeff had a lot of fire at this time in his career as he was refereeing for a couple of as Jeff Leonard. That is his middle name. And now here comes the 8th part. Jerry Waller in December had lost the legally found out to Bill Dundee. He was gone. He was not there. And here comes the dirty and Dutchman Phil as he has in the ring.
This was such a great story. And they all played a great part. Landell and Dundee and Dutch, when he comes out to pick Jeff up, like he looks like he's just coming out of the shower, which I think he was. But it's obvious that's what he's doing.
And then his dad comes out to help
Jeff or Dutch is worried
He's only
about
got one good eye, and they go
one of
after
his
him.
best friend's kids.
Start gouging in the eye. That's the sickest thing I ever saw. I'll tell you one thing. That is absolutely ridiculous. With guys, something's got to be done about guys.
And I apologize. We just sat down to dinner here just a minute ago.
Are you guys just going to let Dundee take over the entire program? And the answer to that is no. Something's going to be done about it, because I'll tell you one thing. I know Marlon's going to do something, Jerry will do, and I can guarantee you this is one place I'm not objective about the thing. It's ridiculous It's bad enough when they come out here and do some of the things they do to like Jameson and Johnson. Sure, they're their opponents. You go in there, you beat them in that. But you don't start beating them around. And then you jump on a kid just out of high school like that. Then his dad comes out and tries to protect him naturally. And the next thing you know, they're in there digging at his eye, the only eye. He's got one bad eye. And they're digging at the only good eye he had. Something's got to be done about that. It's sick.
Vance, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, God. Listen.
I am trying to get rid of this video.
We can talk about it later, Jerry. You don't need to do it right now. I mean, hey, you did whatever you could.
Oh, that was so good.
Savage.
One of the greatest angles of all time. There's no doubt in the world. And Richard Hood saying, "What's up, Rusty?" Frank saying, "Hello, Doc." And
Hi, all guys.
what's been going on in your life?
Oh, let's see. We're here in Orange Beach at home tonight. Just as I said, I apologize. We just sat down for dinner because I really wasn't planning on getting on tonight till just a few minutes ago, and Randy called me. But I'm glad to do so. So
You
I
text me and bragged on that show.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
So I watched the show. I watched Dark
can-
Side this afternoon. I didn't get to watch it last night, but I watched it this afternoon. I just finished like half an hour before, Randy, before you came on the air. Boy, and it was so good. Even Beth watched it, and she kind of liked it. So
it was fantastic, and we'll get to it in detail. I want to take care of some business right now, and we will put my readers on. This is a big week in professional wrestling, people. Big week, because in Iowa we will have the Traeger Hall of Fame, and that will begin Thursday, July 9th with the Hall of Fame ceremony. That Hall of Fame ceremony will take place on Friday, July 10th. Also on Friday, July 10th, Bo James has a little thing as he will be hosting a session, and he is excited about that as well. My man Bo James will be in the house. Now, here is a list of some of the people that will be put into the Hall of Fame. Of course, Ron Fuller, Roy, easy for me to say, Roy Lee Welch, and Ron Fuller, the Welch family. Excited about that. Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and of course, the person I'm going to bring in right now on this show. Come Friday, he will be something that I freaking am not, because Kevin Waller has told me that I should be in the Hall of Fame. That the all credibility of that Hall of Fame is gone. Everybody knows it's my deal. I'll never be on it. Kevin flat out made me a plaque and was going to check it in or sneak it in on me in the Jackson 2024, but he had enough sense to show it to Brandon Back, my good buddy who knows me as well as anybody, and he told him what he was going to do and sneak it on me. And Brandon put out his hand. He said, "Let me shake your hand, because if you go ahead and do that, if you go ahead and surprise Randy and screw up his event tonight, I'll be the last person you ever shake your hand, because he'll kill you." I have quite a reputation. I'm not always known as a nice guy. You tell me I am, but that's a funny story too. Now, I am thrilled to death for my friend Tony Richards. Tony, the newer addition on Talking Memphis Wrestling. He's never been here on Wednesday before, because we've never done a show on Wednesday before. But I have TV watching to do. Now, before we get into the subject matter today, we are going to dive deep, more than we've ever diving deep ever, on last night's Dark Side of the Ring that made old RH cry multiple times during that show last night. Tony, are you excited about this trip? Where are you located as of now?
Yeah, right now I just got to Waterloo, Randy. So
Is that right?
that's why I'm running a little bit late. I rushed up to the room and got my computer on the Wi-Fi and thought I'd check in here with you. And so I'm excited. I came in tonight. We got the Hall of Fame weekend starts tomorrow, and there's just a lot going on. So I wanted to get in a night early.
Well, that is good. How long a drive was it from the Richards Ranch to Iowa?
Well, I think I'm losing my territory driving legs. It was about 10 hours. Last year when I lived in Columbia, Missouri, it was just 5, but I doubled the trip when I moved back to Kentucky last year. So it was fine. I broke it up over 2 days. I drove to Champaign, Illinois the first night and then drove in today.
How close to Chicago is that?
I drove right underneath it, so it's not too far on the way. I'm a little ways away from it now, but I went right to the south side.
Did you go see the Cubbies on
No.
the White Sox?
No, I grew up a Cardinal fan, so unless the Cardinals were there, I probably wouldn't be in Wrigley Field. But no, I didn't go.
Now, what's besides the Hall of Fame ceremony where you get that great, well-deserved honor? What else are you looking forward to the most?
Oh gosh, there's a whole lot going on. Tomorrow we have the welcome reception. We're on. I don't know who else is on, but I'm on a podcast here for most of the afternoon, and then we have the welcome reception. And then Friday, you mentioned Bo's got the session with Ron Fuller, and he's going to be talking about the Welch family.
And I think Roy Lee will be on as well.
Yeah, Roy Lee's going to be at my session, actually. Yeah, there's an AWA session tomorrow around lunchtime, and there's just a whole lot of great stuff going on. And then the Hall of Fame is Friday night, and then Saturday we've got a celebrity softball game to raise money for the Hall of Fame that we'll all be playing in. And then Saturday afternoon at 2:30, I'll be hosting a session about wrestling wars. And I'll be talking about the wrestling wars in Texas in the 50s and the Atlanta wrestling war in the 70s. So Roy Lee was working in the office in Atlanta when that war broke out. So it'll be good to have him there.
What is going on with the pro wrestling time tunnel? Anything new?
Well, today we put a show out with Ron Fuller on it today, talking about the Hall of Fame. And then George Shire, who's going to be inducting me in the Hall of Fame, was on as my guest. We talked about the impact of the Pat O'Connor and Buddy Rogers match in 1961, about how it changed wrestling. And then we talked about the James Melby Award that I'll be getting and the history about it. It was exactly 20 years ago this year that James Melby received the first award, and in 2006. And there's been a long line of people whose name I'm not sure I belong in, but there's a long list of people that have received it. They're probably the who's who of wrestling journalists out there. So I'm really honored and excited about the award.
Look, I mean, that's fantastic. I'm so proud of you and so happy for you. Now we are going to talk about our subject today as we're reviewing Dark Side of the Ring, the episode, and Jeff Jarrett. So, Doc, we'll start with you first. First of all, this has been going on. I think, Tony, I'm right in saying this was the 7th season?
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm.
7th season. Have you watched any prior episodes, and what do you think about the series as a whole?
Oh, I've seen many of the episodes, not all of them, but yeah, I've been watching pretty much since season 1 on and off. So I was pretty familiar with the format and how they did it. So I was looking forward, to seeing the show about TNA last night. Also I want to just say congratulations to Tony for the award, and good to see you. We haven't met before, but I wanted to say hello. And
Thank you,
glad
man.
you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, I think Dark Side is a terrific series. I'm very glad for the guys. It's 2 guys who are the producers of that, and I've watched several videos with them specifically on it, and they're tremendous wrestling fans who also happen to be into production, or video production, TV production. So it just worked out perfect for them to do a wrestling related TV show, because there was clearly a market for it. Vice TV picked it up. Actually, they even said, Evan Husney, who was one of the producers, even said that they went to TNA for this episode, and so they wanted to do a Jeff Jarrett specific episode. But when they told Vice they wanted it to be 6 hours, Vice told them, "Well, we don't know if we can go that long. So can you do something less than that, or less time consuming than that?" So I said, "Well, we decided to do a quote TNA episode, but really it was going to be a Jeff Jarrett episode." So it's pretty cool. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so let me tell you, when 7 years ago, when it came out, they were going to do a dark side of the ring. I was a little on the leery side, still in the old school mentality of growing up in the wrestling business. And I didn't like the idea at all, because I thought that it would make wrestling and wrestlers look bad. But wrestling is just like country music, just like rock and roll, just like broadcasting industry, just like hospitals. There are dark sides of everything in life, and there just is. Now, I think they misnamed that show last night, because it's the best of any in 7 years of any episode I've watched. Oh, you can tell where they're going with it. It should be the bright side, or the redemption of Jeff Jarrett. This was absolutely tremendous. So we'll ask Tony, he's a podcaster, and he's all over the internet more than me. Does a lot of things. So I'm just interested to know, before, first of all, did you watch? Yes or no question. Did you watch the show last night?
No, I didn't get to my hotel in time to watch it, so I didn't. And then I was in the car most of the day today, so I'm looking forward to watching it. I think I'll watch it after we get off of here, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. What was your opinion when you first heard 7 years ago there was going to be a dark side of the ring?
Oh, I wasn't thrilled about it. I probably had the same opinion you did. And to be honest with you, there have been some episodes I haven't watched just because I'm not really into the negative side of things. And I was really happy because everything I'd heard about this, and I saw some clips of the show from last night, even though I haven't seen the show, but I was really happy that it really sounded like this was a little bit of a departure from what they normally do.
Yes.
Because normally, like you say, they're really on the negative side of things, and this was kind of a story that had a great ending to it. So
it's not over yet. There's still
one
episode to go, and honestly, Jeff Jarrett's story is of redemption, and Jeff Jarrett's story is all the stuff that's gone on in his life, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, before it gets to the point that it's at now, and I think he turned the corner when he was, you can help me on the year. When was it, because it's been a while ago, Tony, when he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
I don't either, but
no.
That the redemption and being straight and overcoming his addiction, all that happened. We are full house, even though Adam's not here, even though Michael St. John is not here. A very busy man is in Birmingham, Alabama, and I know, by God, because he texted me 150,000 times, maybe 3. Anyway, my good friend, who we talked a couple of times on the phone today, he's had family overeating. That was the quickest meal I've ever seen you have in my life. You must have not have ate much.
Well, I didn't, but looks like we've got the A-team here.
You didn't eat much of yours. And I thought it was good.
What?
The A-team. I don't know who you're watching, Pat, but
you're on the wrong channel.
No, it's great to see you, Doc, and always great to see you, Tony. And
Bet, man.
I'm sorry, I've been running around a little bit. I've got my. It was we had our family dinner tonight. So anyway, which we don't get to do very much since everybody's kids are scattered everywhere. But yeah, I was listening to you, and I think of the a redemption stories about where we are with this at this point. And I think Tony, you may have made the comment. The tone of this. Um, the tone of this episode was a lot different than they generally do on those
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
You weren't waiting for the axe to drop and all that kind of stuff. And I think rightfully or wrongfully, we're all in need of some redemption. But rightfully or wrongfully, they let Jeff tell his story, and that is something that I think has been relatively unusual in these things, except for you know tell us why you got arrested that time. I mean, those kind of things. But I think we got deeper into Jeff's thoughts and feelings on this than you generally do on those.
Yeah.
I have a dog in the hunt, first of all, folks, but certainly I think, without a doubt, that was the best episode, best two episodes of Dark Side of the Rings. They've been great ones. They've been fantastic ones. Very sad and heartbroken on the Chris Benoit, on the Owen Hart, on the Bruiser Brody. There's been so many. They did an episode on the plane ride of Hail from Hell, and we can go on and on. I want to make a statement, and usually I don't have the controls are here. Can you guys? This is telling me that I'm lost my connection. Can you guys hear me?
We can see
Yes,
you.
Yes.
sir. Yeah.
It's uh, certainly not letting me do anything. I was going to try to put myself full screen on the thing, and it's not letting me do that because it says, oops, connection lost, reconnecting. So if the audience can hear me,
Yeah.
please let me know. Audience, Richard, anybody else, James, you guys let me know if you can hear me. It says that we are live, so hopefully we are live. Before we talk any further, I am going to eventually refer to my notes. If you guys have been in a cave and don't know who I am, my name is Randy Ellis. And I'll tell you the perspective that I'm going to bring to this show tonight. I've known Jeff Jarrett since he was a teenager. I made many, many trips with Jeff Jarrett before he ever got in the ring. His first job was going to the town on the ring crew, on the Age crew, which I did as well when needed. And Jeff and I did it together many, many times. Jeff Jarrett's first year as a professional wrestler, first uh, started becoming a regular in Memphis wrestling was my first assistant booker's job with Jerry Lawler in Memphis. So Jeff and I made a lot of towns together. We'd go to Memphis on Mondays, Louisville on Tuesdays, Evansville on Wednesday, usually a Kentucky or Indiana spot show on Thursday. On Friday, we go to a spot show in the Memphis, Tennessee area on the west end because obviously we would have TV the next morning. So Jeff and I, for years and years and years, together every day. On Mondays, Randy West would drive, and Eddie Marlin and Jerry Jarrett would be with us. On Tuesday, different people for a long time. It was Jeff and me and Billy Travis and Jeff Ring Morrell and me. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every day. And folks, when you are in a car 6 to 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours a day with the same people every day, you get absolutely close and you know these people. And it was obviously Jeff Jarrett was born to be in the wrestling business. Now, I was close to his family, especially his grandfather, Eddie Marlin, from the time I was about 11 years old. My first real job was to sell pictures for Eddie Marlin. And he'd pay me a whopping 5 cents a picture, Tony. You're a nice guy. 5 cents a picture because I was selling these pictures, the black and white payback pins, for 50 cents. 50 cents. So, man, I thank God that the American Legion, I didn't have to buy my Coca-Cola popcorn. I get that for free. So I don't care if I, I sold 20 pictures or 25 pictures, and sometimes I did. Sometimes I used to get aggravated. Eddie would never change pictures and expect the people to continue to buy it, even though they bought them 100 times. But that was certainly just the thing close, certainly closest to Eddie Marlin than anybody. Certainly so close to Jeff, and we visit and text and visit a lot now. And I love Jeff Jarrett. And I'll tell you how you know when you're close to somebody is when you're able to have their back in the toughest time of their life. And as things went along, and you go apart, and I was doing other stuff, and he was doing TNA. But when I found out Jill was sick, I went to Nashville a couple of different times, visited her with the hospital, and then I was called and told she passed away. Basically, her date of death um, was on the same day several years before. And Tony, did I ask this question earlier? Any idea uh, what year did Owen Hart die? It was in the 90s.
99.
99. Yeah, it's
And
99.
I was thinking that Jill died in 2009. I was living in Poplar Bluff.
I thought it was 2007.
Is it? It could have been. It could have. You're probably right. But to be there for that. Jeff Jarrett was born in a situation, Jerry Jarrett, the father, and his mother, who I never met. His mother and dad, when Jeff was very, very, very young, and they got a divorce. Jerry Jarrett married Deborah Marlin, Eddie Marlin's daughter, as a thing. And I think a lot of the trauma, if you watch this show last night, and they talked about a lot of the trauma and even the wrestling trauma. And I can tell you by traveling up and down the roads with Jeff Jarrett, thank the good Lord, thank the good Lord, I had both parents. I was on these days, that's not a common situation, but when he was at his mom's house, all his mom would be blasting and knocking. When he was at his dad, he was knocking his ex-wife, and it was just a uh, sad sad situation. And the whole story of redemption, and we look at family, and we look at issues in family. And at the time Jerry Jarrett passed away, the only child that he had a relationship with was Jeff, and that hadn't been fixed very long at all. Or 2 or 3 years after Jeff got help with therapy, and part of the therapy is mend the fences of people you have bad things. I thought it was just a tremendous deal. And Pat, we'll start with you. because I know for sure you watch this sucker, and so you agree with everything. And let me add, this is one of the things you said in the text last night. I disagreed with, and I forgot the exact wording, but it was something like, "Man, they're beating Jerry Jarrett up," and I didn't think. Certainly, he talked about different things and about his father as well. I thought the person that came across on this show as the heel of all heels, not by just by Jeff, but by Scott Steiner, who, by the way, I've never seen him break down and cry
Oh man!
before,
Wow.
but he did. So certainly, I think Pat, we talked earlier. And you agree, as you think about it, that probably Dixie was portrayed as the heel.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. And I don't know, obviously I was not there. I think Jerry Jarrett's books are pretty about as good a history of that as I've read. Um, the only thing I'll say about that is she bailed them out. So, and when you go get, look, Randy, if you come to me or to Doc or to Tony to get money to run a wrestling show, you've been in a wrestling, you've run wrestling, you've run a territory, you've run that. But if we put the money in, we gonna want a say in it.
Oh
And
yeah.
I don't know what else, I don't know what else they really, that's just part of it. And, the people that put money, I mean, there is, there is no, there is no financial model anywhere in the world today that would tell you investing in a wrestling business is a good idea.
How many times have I told you when you say, "Oh, I'd like to open up a church," blah blah blah? How many times have I told you that's a quick way to
Well, that's right. That's right. But I mean, the only one I know that can stay in it and do it is Bo, and he knows what he needs to run, and he runs it. But you ask, and that was a pretty major. I mean, they had some names. I would out of financial curiosity, and I don't know if they exist anymore, but I would have liked to have seen what the budget might have been with that, how much she had to invest. I do know Jerry told me that Scrushy had given them in the course of a year, I think about $500,000.
That's
So
less than I thought.
yeah, and I don't know when that started and when he went bust, and
he
Randy would
went
talk.
bust pretty quick after the
Yep.
first couple of shows, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But they said he'd given him $500,000, and that sounds like Richard. Yeah, I mean, Randy, you and I talked earlier. I mean, I knew him, and he's still alive, of course. But his his rise and fall uh, was was spectacular by Birmingham standards, and that's a whole other story that doesn't have anything for it to do with wrestling, but it's certainly interesting to reminisce on. But he gave them big money to start with, and his idea. Health South was a chain of health rehabilitation hospitals,
Right.
and he, I mean, I remember going to the barbecue place downtown, and walking in, and Triple H is there, and he'd gotten his knee done at Health South. And Richard loved athletes, had a lot of athletes, doing promotional stuff for him. He did he he envisioned himself a country music singer in waiting. Google on YouTube honk if you like the honky tonk. That had Lex Luger in it. It may have had Jeff in it. He also played in a country band, piano, whorehouse piano, as I say. So and Richard exploded tremendously. I mean, it was one of those Enron kind of things. But I think he leaned into that pretty hard, and I think his notion was that could be good for the brand of Health South in some manner because of the all the orthopedic work they did.
Now, Tony, well, let's just go back from the start, and it was after the WWE bought WCW. Jeff had a contract that he was paid for several months. He calls it the summer of no worries, where he would go out on the jet ski and on the boat, and came up with the idea of TNA wrestling. Tony, did you follow TNA from the Sports Arena days, from the Wednesday night pay-per-view era?
Yeah, just a little bit. And by the way, Jeff went in 2018 in the Hall of Fame for WWE.
Okay.
I did, and the only reason I did was because the Jarretts were part of it, and because I had such a strong connection to the old territory here, or in Kentucky where I grew up.
Yes.
That's the reason that I followed it. I didn't really have a lot of interest in the state of wrestling at that particular time, but I was interested because I thought, okay, this might go back a little bit to what I'm really like. And, so it was a really interesting idea at the time, of doing the monthly pay-per-views and all of that. So I was interested in the business model. I thought, okay, I'm interested to see, number one, if this product is going to be a little bit like the old school, and I'm also interested to see if this business model works, because it was a unique idea. Now, not all unique ideas should be done, but it was one that I thought was unique at the time.
I was not a fan of the ring.
Six-sided ring.
Yeah, I loved it.
Not a fan of that.
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was brilliant. It was a marketing thing, because when you're going as the alternative product, and that's what Jeff always said, we're the alternative. They needed to be different. Certainly, he saw the idea in Mexico. It was successful there. And Pat, you're not the only one that didn't like it, because as soon as Hogan and Eric Bischoff came in, they got the regular ring back, and the fall of TNA happened. Does everybody agree the fall of TNA happened at the same period of time? Hogan came in, Bischoff came in, Jarrett was banished from the company, and the force, the six-sided ring went away. It all happened drastically, and it was a major free fall. You're the historian, Tony. Has there ever been such a dramatic? I guess you can say WCW had a dramatic demise.
Well, it just so happens that who was at that scene of the crime? Same guy.
Hogan and Bischoff.
Yeah, same guys. So I kind of, when I heard that they were coming in, I'm like, well, this is the end of this. Is going to be coming forth pretty soon. Just because, I mean, those guys didn't have any idea they didn't know how to run it. And the other thing, to Jeff's point about being the alternative, and you originally had an investor called Health South. Well, right. I mean, you think your customer is going to be Southern people, right? And then you bring in the guy who actually his mission was to destroy Southern wrestling. You bring him in, well, that you see what's going to happen to your company then.
Absolutely, and certainly, I'm not here to tell you that every idea I ever tried worked, and there were some doozies, and everybody has certainly things that you wish you could have back. I would think with Jeff, I think he put too much faith. I'm going to sound like Jim Cornette here, except it won't be as profanity based.
Keep it clean, Randy.
I will, because this Russo is so just everything he says gets on uh, my nerve, bro. Bro. He says more bro than anything else. So I think that decision, and he was being loyal to Vince because Vince, got him a good contract in WCW and had I featured him. His first world championship was from Vince Russo and that sort of thing. The Vince Russo thing, Pat, you can probably speak to that. That was one of the root causes of the estrangement of Jeff and Jerry Jarrett.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take I'm gonna take Jerry's side in that deal. I never got Vince Russo. I mean, I understand. I think Bischoff, at least grew up carrying coffee to Vern, um, and knew a little bit about it. But I don't get. I think Russo had a run or two in a series, but that was about it. And I don't know it. You know, did they run did they run live shows or was it all TV by that point?
Now, TNA,
Yeah,
by the certainly they started just doing television and then they did some successful tours in England and had a healthy thing that went away
Right.
when Bischoff and Hogan came.
They quit doing house shows. They just stayed in Orlando.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then
yeah,
one of the things that cost them, this is what put them in the finance, and they talked about this on the show last night too, that put them financially in a situation they couldn't recover from. Two things. They bet the farm on Hulk Hogan, and so much money went there. And Hogan and Bischoff were anti doing the television there. Was it Universal in Orlando? I think it
yeah.
was.
Yes.
Universal Studios.
And so uh, they sold Dixie on the idea that was Jeff had lost all his power and stroke, and he knew that would be the beginning of the end. They started touring all over the country, uh, live every single show, and they put them out. It went to me. It went from a alternative product focused on the X division and tag teams and lady wrestlers, women wrestlers being portrayed as main event talent before anybody else did it. And those are the differences, and the six-sided ring, but so much different uh, than that. They ended up becoming. Um, William, do you agree with me? They became WWE light.
Yeah, absolutely. They had distinguished themselves in multiple ways, as you mentioned, not the least of which was the knockouts division, which you mentioned was the girls or the ladies. That, in my opinion, that was the best women's wrestling I've ever seen on a professional level. WWE has gotten better about the women in the last 5-10 years, but I still think the TNA knockouts in the 2000s, boy, that with Awesome Kong and Gail Kim and the Beautiful People and various others, that was the best ladies wrestling, the best presentation of ladies wrestling that I've ever seen.
I agree with that.
And it was led by the number one citizen from Old Trough, Texas, Dirty Dutch Mantel. That was his baby, no doubt about it. So,
Did a great job.
so certainly, Tony, give me, sum it up, your favorite thing about TNA wrestling during the Jeff Jarrett era. Which
Well,
was 2002 to 2009, I believe.
yeah, and I think probably 2000, and I know that was Jeff's tenure, but I probably enjoyed it up to 2006, probably the best. And probably because it had the elements of the kind of wrestling that I like, and it was different, and they weren't trying to be WWE light. They were trying to be something different. And I think, like Pat was saying, he didn't like the six-sided ring. I think anybody who was a traditional wrestling fan that tuned in thinking they were going to get traditional wrestling and they got a six-sided ring is automatically going to be disappointed before they even give it a chance. But I'm one of those people that I gave it a chance, and I enjoyed it, after I gave it a chance. And I liked the way it was booked. I think another mistake that was made with them, and I hate to say this because I really like the guy, he was one of my wrestling heroes growing up. But when they brought Dusty into book, that didn't work either. I mean, his booking chops were gone quite some time ago. And I've had people say, well, you don't like Eric Bischoff. That's not true. I don't know Eric Bischoff, so I don't know if I like him or not. But I don't share same philosophy with him on the wrestling business. And after what he did in WCW, and it seemed like to me like WCW ran off the most loyal fans that in sports are Southern wrestling fans.
No question about it.
And they ran
Absolutely.
They took my childhood, turned it upside down, and shoved it in my face.
And so WCW ran them off. And then when Bischoff and Hogan came in, they dug the grave, and then damn AEW filled in the dirt. I mean, it's just like, we ain't got a chance now. It's like every time there's a new iteration of a wrestling promotion, it seems like they don't want to cater to the people that will be their best customer.
It's funny you say that, and we don't want to get off topic here, and Randy certainly won't let us, but I was a 9-month fan of AEW when they first started, and but they just ran it.
My point about it was not to get off track either, but it's just that everybody seems to make the same mistakes. They seem to want to be what already exists instead of something that doesn't exist. But you could do it in a way. Jeff had the right. I think Jeff had the right idea. He was going to build a loyal customer fan base based on the wrestling business he knew, plus put a little twist on it that hadn't been before, which I think was the right thing to do.
I think I have to say my philosophy here, looking at Power Pro Wrestling, is that I felt the last 3 months of USWA wrestling, and then it had been dark for a couple of months after Power Pro. I wanted it to be new. I wanted to still have those familiar faces, but at the same time, it was a different business model. My finances was determined mainly by television revenue and WWE money for development. That was the focus there. Because of the fact that it wasn't a live event, we ran live events, but our money came from those other things. Because of that, my main focus was ratings and a TV product. And because I didn't have to make that 1 hour television show infomercial, because the 90-minute Memphis show was the business model at the time, but it was not going to work as a business model anymore because people were seeing WCW that was hot and WWE that was hot, and certainly our relationship with the WWF. I think having WWF or WWE talent on the show, so certainly I don't think we made the traditional Memphis wrestling fans mad at all. I think they saw different. They saw the Young Guns division. They still got to see Lawler and Dundee. They get they saw the promoter, Randy Hills, get his hair shaved right on television in the highest rated episode ever. They saw Prime in the many year history of wrestling on
But
television.
Randy, it's because you were smart to keep the elements in it. You kept the elements there while putting a different spin on it and giving people their wrestling. And that's, that's, I don't mean to make it sound easy, because it's not easy, but it is simple.
Any other comments?
No, I agree with that. I think the audience wrestling audience had changed by that time, by 99, 2000, so that there was no way you were going to depend on live events anymore to make your money, because TV had taken over so completely. Most audience members, most wrestling fans, were watching TV 2 and 3 times a week. So they didn't have time to go to a live event anymore. Why would you go to a live event if you can see it 3 times a week or more on your TV in your house? That's just the way it was.
And you could see world title. This is what killed Memphis. You could see, and it's when Louisville did not die. Memphis died. But on Monday night, you could see Hulk Hogan and Goldberg from Atlanta in a sold-out building for the world title and a new world champion on WCW on a Monday night. Then you would see The Rock against Steve Austin on Monday Night Raw. Then Monday night, you had to come to the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, unless you had a DVR or a videotape recorder or whatever the case, you have to pay to get into the Mid-South Coliseum. And by that point, big time wrestling was considered the people you see on national TV. Yep. So as a new age wrestling fan would come on, they would look at 200 people in the audience, if you're lucky, and all these local people, and say, this is not the stars. That's what we had to be put up against. And the loyal of the fan base, young and old, a lot of young people came to Power Pro Wrestling. I still, of course, I second guess a lot of stuff. I don't second guess that. I think the direction we went with Power Pro was the right direction.
And we shouldn't forget either that that's about the time YouTube came in.
Right.
And so you could go on YouTube and watch all the old stuff if you wanted to, because it was starting to be uploaded to YouTube.
Tony, that's a very, very good and very, very valid point. And I wonder myself how much I've obviously watched more YouTube wrestling than I ever have of live wrestling, right?
Yep.
I wonder if I've watched more YouTube wrestling by this point than I've watched on TV.
Yep.
So,
agree.
Yeah.
I have not. I watch a lot of it, but for decades, I saw that live wrestling every night.
Randy, we were here to kind of talk about Jeff's thing, but let me ask you maybe a controversial question. Okay, and I don't
mean about anything you want to.
I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. Okay, and I have all the respect in the world for him, and you know this. Did Memphis, you, Jarrett, etc., ride Lawler too long and not develop new superstars, stars? Okay.
Because we did. We developed Jeff Jarrett, and we developed Billy Travis, and we developed in later years Brian Christopher, and we developed. I transferred a comedy gimmick that Jerry Jarrett brought in, and they were successful at. I made PG-13 main event money drawing people that drew the most money that anybody in 5 years. The core babyface team in the territory. It was PG-13, and the single babyface was Brian Christopher, and Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee were cherries on the top. Again, Blue Power Pro, though, Jerry Lawler was the star because he was that damn good. He was that damn good.
No question.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at your core audience, and we grew up on Lawler, and then the ones that didn't would see Lawler as the cool king on Monday Night Raw with Jim Ross. It would have been a major mistake if Lawler wouldn't have been featured as much as Lawler had been featured.
Can I just?
There's examples of this. Dick the Bruiser, you covered Indiana stuff, Tony, on your podcast and all that. You talked about the Sheik, and you can go on and on and on about people. Lawler was not at that point. He wasn't.
No.
He
Well,
wasn't.
and I was just going to say that in perspective, Jerry Lawler was only around about 5 more years in that spot than Jackie Fargo was in his run. So not that much difference. And Jackie
I
Fargo,
would say Jerry Lawler his relationship with Memphis is unique. I'm not sure there's another wrestler in history that's ever had that close a relationship with a city and a promotion that Jerry Lawler's had. You could put Jerry Lawler on TV in Memphis today, and it'll be the #1 rated show, guaranteed. It's and I don't know fully how to explain it, but he has been a star unlike anybody else in Memphis.
You do a lot of shows, Tony. Let me jump in. You do a lot of shows on territory. Give examples of a local talent that was over as much as Jerry Lawler was in their respective territory.
well, the Funks in Amarillo, the Von Erichs in Dallas. I mean, almost anybody. The thing that's different about Jerry was he wasn't a member of the family. He was an owner, but he wasn't a member of the family. I mean, the Von Erichs in Dallas, the Grahams in Florida, well, I guess that's about it, as far as the family-oriented people. But, I mean, the Sheik in Detroit, Dick the Bruiser in Indianapolis, everybody had the #1 babyface star. And Jackie Fargo, the thing that Jerry had an advantage on is he started so young.
Yeah.
I mean, he started in the business so young, so he had such a long career that he had the opportunity to stay involved in the community. I mean, Jackie was a little bit older, when he got into business, and by the time he retired, but Jerry started out. So, how old was he, Randy? In his early 20s?
Yeah, early 20s for sure. James says maybe Flair and Charlotte, of course, Dusty.
Not like Lawler
in Florida, but they were as people that was the babyface stars. No, not like Lawler, not like Fargo.
Well, there are a lot of guys that had runs that big, but not for 30 years.
Yep.
And the things they had in common is they were the most hated guys, and then they were the most loved guys.
Right.
Both Lawler and Fargo both.
Yeah.
Pat,
and I'll make a comment about Amarillo. We lived there for a while during Katrina. We had to leave New Orleans, so we were in Amarillo, and I actually got to meet.
Was there a place further away to the middle of nowhere you could have gone to?
Pretty much. But it was kind of a cool place. So, and I got to meet Terry Funk because his daughter worked for us. But anyway, so I talked to him about that. And Terry Funk was very much a respected citizen of Amarillo, Texas. But he was not the star like Lawler was, because Terry had gone national much earlier than Lawler did. So he was a respected fan, or a respected citizen, but he was not the focus of attention the way Lawler was.
Well, the promotion shut down, and
much earlier.
The Memphis promotion lasted 15 or 16 years longer than the Amarillo promotion. They shut down in 1980. So the Funks had gone on out to Japan and other places by that point.
So how long was it after Dory Sr. passed away in 1973, I believe I'm right on,
Yep.
on that year. When did the Funk sell?
1980. So they sold 7
That
years.
sounds right.
7 years. I thought it was earlier than that. And
No,
is that
they sold to Murdoch and Mulligan
Right.
in 1980, and they lasted about a year. They shut down in 81, but it wasn't the same promotion.
Have you watched much TV from Amarillo?
No, there isn't very
No,
much.
it doesn't exist. Yeah,
Yeah,
None?
not there.
very little.
Maybe five video clips.
We need to go rob somebody, Pat, and I'd like to see Birmingham TV and more Chattanooga TV. I've seen some of both, but very rare, very rare.
I just had a guy contact me last year, and we're still working on it, but he's got a 2-inch tape that's marked Amarillo Television that we need to get converted. So we might come up with 1 or 2 episodes, but there's not much.
How, because that's not a very populous area, I don't think. It's not like a Dallas or a Houston. Am I correct on that?
Right.
About 200,000 people in the city and about 500,000 in the whole Texas Panhandle.
Oh, is that right? Well, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
That's a big area.
How much main event wrestlers, Tony, how much were they making for the Amarillo territory?
Oh, they were doing all right because they had a loop. I mean, they were the loop was Albuquerque on Sunday, El Paso on Monday, Odessa Tuesday, Lubbock Wednesday, Amarillo Thursday, Abilene Friday, and then San Angelo or Hereford on Saturday. So
they occasionally even went to Lamar, Colorado.
Sometimes,
out
they went to Pueblo about once a month. They ran some towns in Idaho, but mostly that was the loop I just mentioned.
What was that television show called?
Championship Wrestling.
What was the promotion called?
Western State Sports.
Yep.
What was their main town?
Amarillo. I mean, that was where the booking office was. I think Lubbock drew very close to Amarillo, but the primary home base was Amarillo.
How big of a building was the Amarillo building?
Oh, 6,000-7,000.
That's about right.
The old sports arena at the fairgrounds.
Right.
Richard Hood's asking you, Tony, and you've done series on this. Richard says, Tony, didn't Mulligan and Murdoch have a falling out over the Amarillo promotion?
They did, and they had fallen out with their promoters too. Don Slatton, who promoted Abilene, fell out with them, and so did the Guerreros in El Paso. So it all fell apart.
Pretty quick.
Mulligan, one of the problems was Mulligan was trying to run it from Charlotte. He never moved from Charlotte. And Murdoch really just wanted to run the loop. He just liked traveling the town. So he really wasn't interested in the business part of it.
He's like Tommy Rich, give me some beer.
Yep. Yeah. He liked going to the town taverns, in the loop. So
that is interesting. Certainly, I think Amarillo was a prestigious territory, and Baba was strong on sending. Give the examples, Tony, for of the Japanese talent that ended up in Amarillo.
Yeah, Dory Funk Sr., when Baba broke away from Japan Pro Wrestling in '72, Dory Funk Sr. became the American booker. So he sent all the American talent to Baba. And so then when Dory Funk Sr. died, well, Dory Jr. and Terry took over that and stayed with Baba up till almost the end. It was very prestigious. Doc Sarpolis, who was the person who bought the promotion back in 1955, was very politically connected. Yep. And that's kind of how he really originally had planned on Dory Funk Sr. winning the NWA title. He's got the NWA World Junior title for him in '58. And they fell out over the Buddy Rogers decision. They decided to go with Buddy Rogers. And so they named their own world champion. So this is a unique thing. Doc Sarpolis is the president of the National Wrestling Alliance, and they don't recognize the NWA champion. they recognized Gene Kaniski as their own champion in Amarillo. So it was so they were very politically connected, and Dory Sr. learned all that from Doc Sarpolis, which he got Dory Jr. the title at the '68 convention.
You know, Tony, was not Cal Farley of Cal Farley's Boys Ranch involved in that promotion also?
Cal Farley founded the original promotion in Amarillo with the original Dutch Mantell. They met in El Paso in 1920. They had a shoot wrestling match and knocked each other's teeth out, and became best friends. And they met up again in Amarillo in 1923. And so they decided to start working against each other as main event wrestlers in Amarillo. And they built a promotion around themselves. Cal Farley bought a tire store in Amarillo, one stop oil change shop, tire store. And Dutch Mantell became the promoter in Amarillo at that point. But Cal Farley founded the Boys Ranch in 1939. And then
it's still going.
Yeah, and it hired Dory Funk Sr. in 1949 to come in and run it. And at the time, 1952, Eddie Graham was working in Amarillo as Rip Rogers.
Yep.
And he got the whole idea about the Florida Boys Ranch from that whole experience.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of history in Amarillo, but there is in every territory, you know.
Oh yeah.
Back in those days, every territory had a great story behind it. I was going to mention
Amarillo had the WT connection, you know, the West Texas State, now West Texas A&M connection, where they had so many guys who had been football players at WT that got recruited by the Funks to come in or to become wrestlers.
Yep, Sarpolis and Dory Sr. were big boosters, and matter of fact, they held wrestling events to help build a new football stadium. The Canyon, Texas was where the West Texas was, and that's where Dory Sr.'s ranch was, the Flying Mare Ranch.
Right.
I was going to say, back on the Jarretts, though, one of the joys that I had in doing the series on Briscoe and Bradshaw about the Welch family was I wanted to include the Jarrett family with that too. And I got to talk about so many great families in the wrestling business, but I mean, Christine Jarrett saw in Roy Welch and Nick Goulis's office, she saw the money the promoters were making. And so she went to Nick and Roy and said, hey, is there any way you give me Columbia, Tennessee, which was their Saturday night town back in those days, in the Nashville office? And so she started promoting Columbia, Tennessee in 1955. And she recruited a young fella to be her driver to take her to the shows on Saturday night named Eddie Marlin.
Right.
And that started all of the stuff that we're talking about tonight. And it's just such a long, wonderful legacy. I'm just, the one thing I enjoyed about this dark side thing is the fact that the Jarretts are getting some recognition, and they definitely deserve it for sure.
What else is going on in Iowa on this event coming up? We're right there at it. So why don't you spend a couple of minutes telling everybody what we can expect, including a live appearance from the Tennessee Stud and Double J Jeff Jarrett.
Well, yeah, and those are two people that I'm so excited about, and I pushed, along with some other historians, have pushed for so long for the Welch family to get inducted in almost any Hall of Fame. It's kind of an injustice that they haven't been. And Jerry Briscoe and the people here in Waterloo stepped up and decided to put them in. They're winning the Luthez Award, and they're going in as a family, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. And then Jeff is being inducted as well. And I wanted to have Jeff on my show, and we just never could quite work it out. It's summertime, and he's got a lot of different things going on. But I'm looking forward
promoting this dark side of the ring is keeping him busy.
Yeah, he's on all these other podcasts. You know.
Yep.
He got time for my little show, but I'm looking forward to spending time with him. I'm also looking forward to spending time with the Jack Briscoe Award winner, which is Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, who is just a great guy, and couldn't happen to a better guy.
Are you going to do a live podcast while you're there?
Well, I get people are asking, so I might do a little stream every now and then. I don't know if I'll do a whole show, but people are wanting my session. They're wanting me to stream my session, and I don't know. I can't run the camera and conduct the session at the same time, so I have to figure out if I could make that happen.
Maybe you can find somebody that will run the camera for you. Simple. Maybe simple. Sure.
I definitely wish you guys were here. I hope I can talk you into coming up here sometime, maybe next year.
I love that.
Yep.
But yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. This Hall of Fame is just, I mean, when I started going down this historian path and everything, I thought, okay, I'm going to have to pick, because there's so many different things going on. And there's a lot of wonderful organizations. And I thought, I'm not going to be able to be involved in all of them. I'm going to have to pick one or two. And the St. Louis Hall of Fame, I'm very involved with Herb Simmons with that. And I'm involved here in Waterloo because, you know, one thing I like about it is connected back to the roots of wrestling. And it's connected to amateur wrestling and professional wrestling. And so it's a very prestigious, and it's a word that gets thrown around, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it's a very legitimate deal. And I'm excited that I'm going into it for sure.
Well deserved for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey, Pat, what else do you want to talk about?
What's your show, boss? I just get to be on here. Well, I'd like you to give us a little bit. Were you working when Jeff broke in when he started?
Yeah, I said that in my opening. He started about the time I first got my first gig in the office as the assistant under Lawler. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Were you there when they talked about doing that? Pat wasn't here, but you showed that angle with Jerry coming out and crying on camera and all.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Were you involved in the discussion of that, Randy?
No, not at that point, because Jerry Jarrett was booking at that time, or Dundee was booking, and then business after Lawler lost that loser leave town collapsed, which it would, and so Jarrett came back to get that going. And then I respect Jerry Jarrett on this. Quickly after Jeff debuted, Jerry Jarrett basically fired himself and said, because he's always been fearful, and because I can tell you, because I've been in that office and in that car and the whole thing, he was rougher on Jeff than anybody, because he didn't want a George Goulas. He saw the mistakes that Nick made with George, or the perceived mistakes. Again, I didn't get national TV, so I've been influenced by what other people tell me. Anything I saw myself, because I saw nothing. But Jeff, just I think the fact that Jarrett went on hiatus, he turned it off the wall, and he wasn't at TV, and he wasn't in Memphis, and he wasn't in Louisville, and he wasn't in Evansville. I mean, for a year. So first year in wrestling wasn't booked by his dad. It was booked by Terry Lawler. And all the talent in the territory knew that when, no matter who the promoter is, and at that point, Lawler just had pieces. He wasn't a 50-50 partner at all. But when Lawler booked, Lawler's the booker. That's just the way it was. And so I think Jerry Jarrett did a great job. And then about a year later, Jerry decided he's going to take the book again. And so I had me move from Memphis to Nashville. And Jerry just booked for a few months, and he just wasn't with it. I mean, he just was not motivated. I don't know, hard, because I just don't know the issues. Maybe it was the national expenses, the WWE going in, and so he gave it back to Lawler quickly. this
Had he started going to New York by then, Randy, with the WWF? I know he went there at some point.
in the
No.
90s.
90s.
Okay.
I think he
Okay.
got involved in construction, didn't he, Randy?
Yeah.
Get involved in the construction business and get a contract to build all those gas
Yeah, but
stations.
not in that time period.
It wasn't that time period.
Uh, no, not in that time period. That was later on, and then he got a contract. He did that developing that property at Cumberland Hill Drive at Cumberland Place, but then he got involved in construction with the BP stores all
Well, that's
over
what I was thinking. Yeah, the
Right.
gas stations.
the countries, and that's in the 90s. Bo James, I see you are in Peoria, Illinois, and
Peoria.
we've been talking about that big event coming up, and we're really looking forward to it. I'm Randy Hills with Dr. Rusty William freaking Robinson, the better or the worst half of the best Dr. Robinson duo, Pat Trammell, the OG on this show, and going into the Tragus Says Hall of Fame is Mr. Tony Richards. Tony, you invited me. You gave me a false claim. You wanted me to come on your show, and then you never followed up.
Yeah, I want you to. I said when I get back from Iowa, let's get it scheduled.
Richard, he developed those BPs in Georgia. I don't know if he did any personal property and that sort of thing. I never heard that. And
J.J. Dillon was in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, JJ was still working in Crockett when
the business office,
Yeah.
finance and bookkeeping and that sort of thing. He was a lot of help. Randy West went to work for him, and Eddie Marlin went to work for him. It's the whole crew. And Jeff, if TNA wouldn't have worked out, Jeff got his first license and his contract.
Yeah, he was ready to go to work for his dad.
Yeah, absolutely. That was before the falling out. Pat, on the conversation that they talked on the show, Dark Side of the Ring, it's why we're here today. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it and that sort of thing. What did you think? Did you think do you think that was necessary to tell the Jeff Jarrett story, or do you think, in your mind, since you're such a big lover of Jerry Jarrett, or did you think it was in bad taste?
Which story are you talking about?
The split with Jeff and the split with TNA with Jerry and
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that was absolutely part of the story, and I think they should have told it. I think it's a very important part of Jeff's story, and I know that they had their ups and downs, and the truth of the matter is, and I'm fortunate. I came from a nuclear family, but at our age, and I think it's more now, but probably 40% of my friends did not come from a nuclear family, and anytime you're in a situation like that, there's turmoil. And the Jarretts had TV to be stuck in the middle of it, and a career that Jerry was had his hands on how high Jeff might ride, and then they're in business together. I cannot. My father ran a small business all my life. I cannot imagine spending 10 minutes in business with him, because I mean, Jeff's a strong personality. I mean, he just is, and I think Jeff's probably a stronger personality than Jerry might have been. And if you're the son, and I've grown up with kids like this. They've gone to work for their dads, and they're. Well, I'll tell you a story. I had an investor in our finance company business that he needed to be bought out for some financial issues. We bought him, and we bought him out. And I hadn't seen him in a while, and he's in South Georgia, and he manufactures peanut equipment. And so I went to see him, just see how he was doing, and we had a nice visit. He said, "Well, have you ever seen my plant?" And I said, "No, I hadn't, Lewis." He said, "Well, come on." So we walk out, and he pulls out a pack of cigarettes. Said, "You want cigarettes?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take a cigarette." So he spit cigarette, and he yells over at this guy, and he says, "Hey," gives him a 10 and says, "Go get me a pack of cigarettes." Well, we walk around the plant, and it's a good sized plant. Guy comes back, hands him cigarettes, walk away, and the guy turns to him and said, "Oh, have you met my son?" Now, this guy's 25-year-old, 25, 26, 27-year-old college graduate going to get his daddy cigarettes. I mean, and look, the South is full of that.
Yeah.
Does Wyatt ever go get you cigarettes?
No, I ignore my children as much as possible. I find that's probably better for them.
I'll tell you something else about that, Pat, and I've got experience in this, is I think third generation is harder than second.
Yeah.
I think if you're a second generation and you're in business with your father, I think that's rough. But I think even third generation's even harder, which is what Jeff would have been. I had no interest whatsoever in being in business with my grandfather and my father. I just could see it just was not going to work out, and it's a lot of pressure. And I admire Jeff for doing it. Even being in the business, working in the business. I mean, it's just a lot to live up to, especially if your family's fairly successful at whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I mean I've met Jeff a couple times now. He's been on here before, and I knew towards the end of his life, Jerry and I were relatively good friends, I guess, but for a period of time. But
he thought you were the richest man in Alabama.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he really thought that. He told me that.
Oh, well, anyway.
You never told me that.
I'm the richest man at 1807 Seneca Road, okay? But and I you really don't know what money is, right? Particularly when you're younger. I mean, when I grew up in my small town, people that I thought were just wealthy as all get out. They had a business that had about a 14-year, 15-year run, and the son of went to work for him, and before you know it, the business is gone and he can't do anything. So you got to be careful of that. But I admire, I felt like, just in retrospect and watching it, and I think part of the reason maybe that Jerry and Jeff had their differences at times was I think Jeff, seemed to be determined to make his own path.
Randy, when you saw Jeff in the first 6 months, did you think it was going to work?
Yes. I thought it was going, because I'd make these trips with him when we were hauling the ring or the cage. He was so one question after another, and so interested. And I used to, on Tuesday night, stay at the big house when he was still living at home. And more than one night, he was in one wing and I was in the guest wing, and he'd knock on my door, and he knew that I kept booking books, had him the Memphis Card and the Memphis House and the Memphis Advance and the Loop for several years. And he would come in and say, "Hey, how was Louisville doing in July of '83 then compared to what we did tonight?" I just knew, and he picked it up because he was athletic. He was athletic, a basketball player. He was obviously undersized at first, and he had the mark. I think everybody grown names. I want everybody to get in on this one. Second generation wrestlers that were bust. Would you consider Jeff Jarrett a bust? I absolutely would not. A major success.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jeff's, of course, you know, his dad took a different path, but except for Louisville, he was a better wrestler than his dad, but nobody at Louisville did.
No, I would agree with that. You maybe the
other
biggest name,
always the better worker. But Jarrett had the advantage of the other baby faces was Tojo Yamamoto and Jackie Fargo and Eddie Marlin. Jerry Jarrett was young, good looking, and the girls loved him. For sure.
I've had to deal with that, Randy. It can be a curse.
We always knew that about you, Pat.
I would say Mike Graham probably didn't get anywhere near where Eddie was, who was pretty much a god in Florida. I would say Captain Ed George, the Sheik's son.
Oh my goodness, he'd rival George.
Yeah, worse than George.
Worse than George.
Yeah, it definitely didn't work as many matches as George.
I've never seen a video of Captain Ed George in my life.
Yeah.
I was going to say the only one I can think of that was better than our bigger name than Jeff. I don't know if you can call it better. Was Bret Hart.
Yeah. And you know, Fritz von Erich's sons, David, Kevin, and Kerry, they were up there. Dark Side. They did a movie about that. Just a terrible tragedy with that family. How about Greg Gagne, guys?
It depends on who you talk to. I mean, another really undersized guy. I mean, he really fought that, you know, I think his whole life. How about David Flair?
I don't think David Flair ever wanted to spend 40 seconds in the ring.
That's the thing. Did George Gillis want to wrestle?
I think it was more. I think he wanted to, but I think he also knew his limitations. I mean, I think he was. I mean, based on my conversations with him, I think he always kind of knew that he was a good basketball player and he was a decent athlete, but he just didn't have the charisma and he didn't have the things that a good babyface needs. I think he was doing it a lot because Nick wanted it. I think Nick suffered from, and this is just my opinion, I don't have anything to back it up with, but I think Nick saw Roy and he saw Buddy Fuller and he saw Robert Fuller and Ron Fuller, and he saw all these Welch family members, and then he saw Jarrett. Pretty much Roy basically adopted Jarrett, and I think Nick just thought, okay, well, there's a lot of family around here, but none of them are related to me, and I really got one son, and I want him to be involved, and I don't know that. I mean, George told me, you know, he got made fun of from the time he was a kid in school because Nick would always say goodnight to him on the television show. And
yeah, that's not a good start.
I mean, he had his, and that's why I don't like knocking him, because I mean, the guy's been knocked his whole life. You know?
Oh yeah,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Our audience listens to or reads different things, and Cornette's bad about it, and different people. Daddy Says Sell, and all that situation. And you know, I usually argue, and I don't know George. I don't.
All I know is George told me that never happened.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did Vince ever wrestle?
Vince McMahon?
Yeah.
No, but he wanted,
Attitude
he wanted to.
Yeah, I thought the story was his dad didn't want him to.
Yeah,
No.
Dr. Jerry Graham was his favorite wrestler.
Right.
Okay.
And when the Golden Grahams were in New York as a tag team, Dr. Jerry and Eddie, he was riding, he was their driver. He was driving them down Broadway in New York City, and they were lighting cigars with $100 bills. And Vince Sr. put a stop to that pretty quick. I think Vince Jr. even dyed his hair blonde.
Okay.
And Vince Sr. put a stop to that pretty quick.
Let's put a period to this show, and wanted to let everybody know I'll be back next Wednesday with whoever that we can get to be on here. Michael will not be able to be here next Wednesday or any Wednesday. So next week will be the last Wednesday show that I'll do, because honestly, with this King of the Ring, I don't give a shit about the other. I really don't. This Jeff Jarrett story hits close to home. I think it was a home run. That's why we were here. It made me cry. It made me laugh. And I've always respected Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, if you say who are the two, or say three, would you say the three smartest wrestlers you ever saw? I would say Jerry Lawler, Jerry Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett.
They're right up there.
That's who I dealt with. So who would you say three smartest wrestlers you've ever seen, Tony?
Well, I mean, I'm biased because that's who I grew up with. So, I mean, I couldn't disagree with that at all.
Pat?
Yeah, gosh, Randy, I'll have to think about that one.
Well, the other question I wanted to ask you, Pat, because you brought it up and we got away from it. You asked me, and I gave my opinion real quick, if we went too long with Lawler, and I said, no, hell no, we did not. Here's the thing. You collect the Sheik went too long as the top guy in the promoter. Dick the Bruiser did. There's so many people. That's not what happened to the Tennessee territory, because we were giving other people chances. The Fabulous Ones got a chance. So many, Handsome Jimmy Valiant got a chance. It's these other territories, pretty much, a lot of people didn't get a chance. So I think I stick to that answer. But my question to you, Pat, did you think we went too long with Lawler?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I mean, the proof of the proof is in the pudding, and the Memphis territories, decline in live attendance. If you look at it, and I saw somebody do this one time, mirrors the rest of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, it was all, unless you just, all your talent left and all that, and it just collapsed. But, Memphis hung in there about as well as anybody else.
No, Pat, would you say this maybe Lawler was more popular than Memphis than he was in any of the other cities in the territory?
I don't really feel qualified to talk about the other territories.
Well, I can say this: Memphis was the biggest city in the territory, and had the live television on a network on top, whether it was Channel 13 or Channel 5. Memphis was just set up to be the main person, and he was the local hometown guy. Was he over in Louisville? Yes, but I don't think at his peak, he wasn't over better than Jerry Jarrett was. He really wasn't. And you know me, Pat, how much nice things do I say about Jerry Jarrett? But to always say there's never been a baby face over as much as Jerry Jarrett in the first 3 or 4 years of Louisville being a town.
That's
You
pretty
agree
funny.
with that, Tony?
Yeah, definitely. Jerry Jarrett was probably the biggest star ever in Louisville.
I think there's no probably about
Yeah. And I'm not sure that Tommy Rich and Austin Idol weren't just as over as Lawler and Evansville. But nobody in Memphis. And I think
Nobody could touch Lawler in Memphis.
Jerry Lawler was definitely more over in the western end. You know, they were sending Fargo to the eastern side in the last couple of years when it was still a whole territory.
Very interesting stuff. What would you like to see on the next episode of the Jeff Jarrett TNA story, Rusty? What would you like them to cover that they haven't?
Oh, the fallout between him and Dixie Carter, for sure. That's so interesting how that occurred, and we don't know. Who knows how many details we're going to get from that, because that may be still an untouchable subject. But boy, the more we hear about it, the more I'd like to hear it.
Pat?
I'm interested in that. Obviously, I also am kind of interested in how they if they address Jeff and Jerry's relationship, after his first wife died and all that, because I know that was, when I got to know Jerry.
Talk about it last night.
A
little bit, but I mean, just on through to Jerry's death, because I know Jeff did his eulogy and did a fantastic job. But when I got to know Jerry, he and Jeff were on the outs, and they seemed to be on and on of the outs a good bit. And I don't mean bloodthirsty hate battles. Right. I just mean
It's pretty serious when you don't. It's pretty serious when you don't go to your son's wife's funeral.
Well, I didn't know Jerry until post that, but yeah, that's right. That's right.
But after Jeff, what I'm looking forward to, I'll cut line here, is the downfall of Jeff Jarrett and what happened with the substance abuse situation, and the redemption of Jeff Jarrett to where he is now, WWE Hall of Fame, joining the Dragon Hall of Fame, having the successful podcast, having the Dark Side of the Ring, the redemption of Jeff, and seeing it in episode number 3. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, without a doubt. Anybody else with any thoughts about what you'd like to see?
I was really happy, and I don't know because I haven't watched it. As soon as we get off here, I'm going to watch the one that was on last night. But I was really
2
happy.
episodes last night.
Oh, okay. I was really happy.
A suggestion before you get your thought, man, you can cover up with this stuff. I thought what's the guy named, the MMA reporter, Ariel Helwani?
Yeah.
He had Jeff on as a guest. Check that out. Listen to that. Also on Chris Jericho's podcast, Talk is Jericho, he had Evan, the producer of Dark Side of the Ring, and Jeff on there. And Jeff last night, after the show went off the air with the Dark Side of the Ring, Conrad went live with Karen and Jeff. That was fantastic. So Pat, I would suggest everybody in all our audience too, if everybody can watch, I would certainly say that if you can't find that Dark Side of the Ring, the Jeff Jarrett podcast from last night, the Ariel Helwani, and the Chris Jericho, I think it will give you a fantastic perspective there. Tony?
Oh, I was just going to say, I was really glad to hear that they were going to give Jeff and Karen a chance to tell their side of the story about their relationship. I think that's good. I did hear Jeff say that he encouraged Dixie to tell her side of her story.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that happened.
Yeah, she declined.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. I wish that she would have done that.
The most shocking moments of the show last night, I thought, Doc, I think, you might have talked about that, but Scott Steiner getting emotional.
Yeah.
That's not Scott Steiner. and that's
the big bad booty daddy was breaking down and had to leave the set because he was crying about Jill Jarrett's death.
I'm looking.
And he don't do those kind of stuff. And Jeff and Scott became friends in 1987 and closest of friends. And he was at the funeral. He was at the funeral without a doubt. Road Dog Jesse James was at the funeral, but Jarrett was not, Pat.
But the most popular sport in any workplace is boss watching.
Yeah,
so everybody was watching Jeff and Karen, and I'm glad that they finally have a chance to tell their side.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's go with last take time, and we'll go Doc last minute because Pat had told me he was going to be late, and I knew that Tony was going to be on the road, but there's a possibility to get Tony. But I appreciate you coming on. We don't do it as much as we used to, but so much having you. Last thoughts, last take from Dr. William Rusty Robinson. Have you been doctoring any lately?
I still call myself that. I'm the blues doctor, so, I can go with that. But thank you for asking me to be on tonight, Randy. I'm sorry I couldn't get on earlier. But my last take would be I was just very excited to see this, and I'm very excited to see the next episode also. And I wanted to say, tell Tony again, congratulations. Great to meet you. I hope we get to be in touch sometime in the future. Good to see Pat again. Thanks to all you guys. Thanks to everybody in the audience. Another great show, Randy.
Thank you very much. Last take, final words for the newest member going into that Hall of Fame. And it will be Friday night, and I need a graphic on that as we lead into that. Let me see if I can find that darn graphic. Who we seeing here, Tony, on this screen?
Oh gosh, you got Ken Resnick, you got my friend James Beard there, who's getting the Impact Award, Jimmy Garvin, you got Jeff, and we got Ron Fuller, and we actually got two pictures of Ron on there. And let's see, Dolph Ziggler is on there. I can't remember his actual shoot name. That he calls himself now, but that's pretty much it. We got a great class this year, 2026 Hall of Fame for Trago Stes. I'm very honored to be a part of it and to go in this year, and several of my friends there that you just showed on the screen, like my fellow classmates. And thank you all for having me on tonight. I'm very honored anytime you ask me to come on, but I'm especially special to me this week. So thank you.
Good luck, and I'm proud of you, and I think it'll be fantastic. Final take by the OG of this show, Talking Memphis Wrestling, as well as our friend. And I think we need to, before you do your first take, I'm tickled to death that a relationship I helped start on this show got together without me this past weekend. You had dinner with our friend Coach Chris Ellis this past weekend in Birmingham.
I did. So, 2 nights ago, Sunday night, Chris and I and his new bride, and we had a good time at the oldest restaurant in Birmingham, and one of Coach Bryant's favorite, Bright Star. So, but Rusty, so good to see you. Missed you a lot. Tony, great to see you. Congratulations again. That's very well deserved, and I know quite an honor. We all get a little honor in our lives, but getting an honor from something that we love so much, I must feel really, really special.
Yes,
and well deserved. And I've just enjoyed talking about this. I mean, I know Jeff a little bit and have always liked him, and he's had a very special journey. And, the thing I will say is that Jeff always has seemed to point his star northward to the North Star, and whatever he's been through, he's been able to come out. And I think that's a tribute to him. So look forward to the next episode and look forward to next week.
Next Wednesday we'll be here, and James says Dolph Ziggler, his name is Nick Nemeth.
That's it. Yeah.
I went brain crazy crazy there. Richard says, Randy, what do you think about the Wayne Ferris saying Jarrett stole the guitar gimmick from him? Just somebody being controversial. You know, stuff in wrestling's been packaged. Did you ever hear the Sheik saying Jerry Lawler stole fire from him, or you know, that just sort of thing is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the Sheik showed him how to do it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Thank you, guys. This has been a different show. We won't be here next Tuesday, but we'll be here next Wednesday to wrap up the Jeff Jarrett episode, and I'm looking forward to that. And until then, missing Adam Dunn. He wasn't here for 3 weeks in a row. I think you made him mad, Pat.
Wow.
We need Adam back.
Oh yeah.
This show worked fine without most of us, but we need Adam, man. So.
I think we made it tonight and appreciate it. I would much rather concentrate on the hosting than doing this, but still, it is what it is. Thank you, guys. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate the audience. We'll see you next Wednesday and talk.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night,
everybody. Thanks a lot.
You'll see America's favorite sport on WHBQ.